This is Nicole Sweeney with WBGO and WBGO Studios. So nice to be here with you and my very special guest who does not really need an introduction, but I'm going to give you actually my introduction to her. Now, I was doing radio in Atlanta. Boy, this has been at least 10 years ago. And I used to do the music, meaning when new music came to the station, I was responsible for opening it up and listening to it and seeing what should be added to the station. Well, imagine my surprise opening up this package and seeing this blue, just royal blue that spoke to me. Do you know colors can speak to you? It's almost like an aura. Well, I saw this name, which was familiar to me. Some people don't know that I shared this name with this particular artist, but then, boy, you see the saxophone. And I said to myself, I got to listen. There's something about this album I already know that I feel an attachment to, if you would. Now, the name of the album is called Retox. This is about 10 years ago. Fast forward to 2022. I'm back sitting with saxophonist, composer, educator, arranger. She calls herself a healer. That's exactly what she is. She's my sister friend, my sister girl, Lakecia Benjamin in the house. We're talking about new music. Can you believe it? 10 years ago. And now we're back to talk about some new music, your fourth album. We're going to get into it. But first, how are you doing? And you know, I mean that question sincerely, girl.
I'm doing all right. I feel good. I feel good with the milestones we've achieved and everything. And it's interesting remembering that 10 years ago that was my first CD, and I totally had no intention to do another one. I just thought, this is great. I've done this. Move on. So it's good to see the journey, and it's good to be today talking to you, someone that's witnessed it firsthand.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I go to that album often. There's a song on there called Human Being, if I'm not mistaken. And it's one that makes me feel like that when the world makes me feel otherwise. So I'm glad that you decided to do more music, because even with that first one, Lakecia, you were definitely just sending a message of healing. So I love that you call yourself a healer, a lover of music, because that's what you send out. And let's talk about, goodness, where it all began. I know we kind of always go there, but I really want people to know about you and your journey, even before Retox and getting here, and some of the amazing people that you have started this musical journey with. Now, we were talking about New York. Where exactly are you from? I want to say Harlem, but I might be mistaken with that.
That's totally mistaken.
Darn.
I think it was because I was on Motema Records with Retox, and that label was stationed in Harlem. But I'm from Washington Heights, New York, which is
Right
not that
now.
far away. So my mom is from Harlem, so I still can take some ownership to that. But that's where I got my beginnings from.
Wow. Wow. So now you have to let me know, being a young girl growing up in Washington Heights. I mean, there's a lot of music, though, from what I remember in New York City and in Washington Heights. What's your first experience with the music that we call jazz so lovingly?
Jazz actually started for me at LaGuardia High School. I had
Oh,
auditioned to get into there. And at that time in New York, they were sending people to their zone schools. And my zone school was a little rough around the edges. So my friends recommended that I audition for the Performing Arts School and then all of the academic schools. So I got into all of them, but Bob Stewart, I know the great tuba player, used to play with Howard Johnson, Nicholas Payton, Steve Coleman, Sam Rivers, auditioned me that day. And I played Charlie Parker's Yardbird Suite. And then I played some classical piece. And after he heard me, he said, I think you sound great. You can read well. Have you ever heard of jazz? And I said, no, I haven't heard of jazz. He said, what have you been playing? I said, I'm from Washington Heights. I've been playing in the merengue bands up there doing gigs. And he said, if you could learn to play jazz, would you do that to be in the school? I said, I'd do whatever you say.
wow.
So he gave me a list of people I should listen to. And if I like that, then I should come to LaGuardia. So he gave me Charlie Parker, Charles Mingus, Duke Ellington, Sonny Rollins, and I think John Coltrane. So those were the 5 CDs that started me. I turned on the Duke Ellington first. I loved it. I called them back. I said, I'm going to LaGuardia.
Wow. Wow. And you can remember which one you listened to first. That's
Yeah,
how,
totally.
wow. That's how
Totally can.
fresh it is, those memories. And, we often talk about how we want to bring the music back to the youth and to the schools, because I do believe that kids will have that reaction. They'll hear something and it sticks with them. So you are another reminder of just that.
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely. Now, you have had some amazing mentors. I understand you and Gary Bartz, excuse me, are kind of cool. I mean, come on now, Lakecia. It's funny when you talk about growing up in New York. I remember hearing sounds of Gary Bartz before I knew jazz. How about that?
Yeah, I mean, I was a big fan of his new troupe
Yeah. Oh,
and of I've Known Rivers, No Mo the Magic Stick. So at that time, I was at New School University, and if you pass out a proficiency, you can easily pick your teacher you want to study with. So I decided in my mind that I was going to, at that early age, start reaching out to all the alto saxophone players that I admired. So I found him, went to his gig, went to his show, and told him, could I study with you? And he kind of blew me off, and I kept finding him days and days and days after. And eventually, it worked out. We started working together, and then I said, the new school might be able to pay you if you want to stop making this for free. So that's how it started, really.
wow. Wow. So you have persistence, huh? You don't take no for an answer.
I'm definitely very ambitious.
Now you have to talk to me about Clark Terry, Mr. Mumbles. I feel like your resume has some heavy hitters on it before it even really began, which is just so amazing. But Clark Terry, is he as cool as he seems? Was he as cool as he seems?
He was at the time my idol. I mean, I was listening to his albums. I mean, Mumbles, I was listening to Oscar Peterson Trio +1, all that stuff with Clark and learning his solo. So when he came up, he literally called, said he was starting a new band of young people, and he wanted to audition me to see if I could be a part of it. So he called me and said, do I know where New Jersey is? I said, no, I don't. He said, well, here's the address, and you need to get here before 8 p.m. tonight if you want to be in the band. So I called one of the little gypsy cabs, and I was like, I got $20. Can you take me to this address? They took me down there. His wife opened the door. We went down to the basement, and literally he had a music stand there, a chair, and some music on there, and he was sitting on the side. And I told him, I don't want to be going to a no guy's basement. And he said, don't worry about that. Just play this song. And he counted it off, super excited, like 1, 2. I was like, Jesus. He counted it off. I played probably the first 20 seconds. He stopped me and said, you're hired. Wow. I said, that's all you needed? He said, yeah, now we can just play some songs together.
Wow. Wow.
So that's how it went.
Oh my goodness. I love it. Okay, so a book has to be coming out. I already see the Lakecia Benjamin documentary in like the next 10 years, but we're going to get there. We're going to get there. I really want to dive into this new music because, my introduction to you was about your first album. So fast forward to a brand new album that comes with, I want to say the stories that you were telling in the first recording, but boy, different chapters have passed and different events in your life. Talk to me about the seed that planted the idea of Phoenix, this new album coming out January 27th.
I think out of all the albums I've done, this is probably the most personal to me. It was I think September last year. I was in a car accident, and I broke 3 of my ribs. I broke my scapula. I fractured my jaw. I perforated my eardrum, totaled my car. And I literally woke up in the woods to some stranger dragging me out of the car. So when I went to the hospital, they didn't know if I was going to make it or not. So at the time I had started writing the new album. I didn't have a name for anything, but I think that experience of just, I guess, all the hardships we go through in life and just not knowing. I was coming from the Tri-C Jazz Festival. So I literally played a great set, had a good time, and 4 hours later, I was potentially dead. So I guess I wanted to highlight not just that one experience I had of being able to overcome that and still keep going, but I feel like all of us, especially as artists, we overcome a lot of no's. We overcome a lot of finding a way to present the music ourselves when people don't want to give us a chance. So I guess I wanted to highlight that type of resiliency we all have. And just even in this time of the pandemic and everything, as a people, how we all find a way to keep rising above.
Yeah. I do remember that because, Lakecia and I follow each other on social media, and social media could be a real crazy place. But I also find it to be where I can keep up with, my friends and musicians that I don't get to see. And I remember that time. And I honestly feel like I remember a time where you were just kind of getting hit and just hit again.
Yeah.
And then hit again. And I wonder how people even rise up from something like that, it's very difficult because some people had a pandemic within
Yeah,
the
yeah,
pandemic.
totally. Yeah, I mean, throughout the years, I mean, even during the pandemic, I lost 15 of my family members. I mean, on my mom's side of the family, we are the only two left.
Wow.
So I just think that there's a lot of time, a lot of things that as artists, like we don't say because we just kind of post the glitz and the glam. And I feel that we all, as a people, can just identify with needing to kind of some kind of music to soothe that type of pain and soothe that type of experience. Whether you're partying through it, whether you're dancing through it, whether you're just meditating through it, I feel that we don't address sometimes the humanity in all of us.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And your song Rebirth is a tribute to family, correct? That's one
Oh
of the
wow,
songs.
yeah, totally.
Oh yeah. I've been diving into the
You picked the
music
B
because
side.
oh yeah. Because just like Retox, this is an album that it kind of held my hand and said, I got something to a path to lead you on. So I've been really diving in. And Rebirth, talk to me about naming it that and being a tribute to the ones that have left us.
Yeah, I guess. Well, my younger sister is someone I lost back in 2013, so that was a huge blow for me. We only have 4 years apart, and I just felt like I wanted a song that started from a low place, but showed how bright things could get.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like we do a lot of talking about uplifting yourselves, but not a lot of coaching each other through the process of that. You know, it's easy to say make your dreams happen. It's really hard to say let's make a game plan together to get you to where you want to go. So I just wanted this music to kind of hold people's hands and say, let's go through it.
Wow. And you mentioned your sister, which leads me to mention the amazing women. And I have to tell you, she's got some of the most spiritual women walking on this earth today on this recording. I'm talking about Diane Reeves, who I call one of our greatest storytellers. I think Diane can sing a song out of a children's book and change it like no one else can. I mean, was her song not the highlight of the Grammy or the Emmy Awards just a couple of months ago? And
Totally
you
was.
didn't even know that at the time, but
Not at she hadn't won it yet, but it was, it just speaks to who she is and who all
right.
these women on the project are. So when I saw that, I wasn't even surprised. I was like, of course.
Now talk to me about getting Diane Reeves and your relationship with her, because that song is it like the hair kind of stands up on your arms as you listen to Diane almost singing right to you.
I felt like pursuance with this project. There was only a certain amount of women I knew, or certain people that were guests that I knew, and the rest I was going to have to seek out and petition their appearances. So I didn't want Terry to have to do that. I wanted to show I could hold my own weight and reach out to these people. So I had written this song with her in mind, the lyrics, everything. So I figured she's always someone I wanted to work with. We only had one experience working together. I think I worked with Terry in Chicago once. And, Terry always has like 15 stars playing. So Diane Reeves was one of them. And I've always been a big fan of how she scats and how she tells a story. So I felt that there's no harm in just asking and telling her what I'm about, what I'm trying to do, how much I have, how much I'm willing to get, and can she be a part of it? And I would say she was from the beginning the most pleasant person ever. She never made me feel beneath them. She never made me feel like I was like she's on a grandstand and I'm trying to reach out to her and just get to where she is. She was honest. She was open what she could do, what she can't do. When I was stuttering, trying to figure it out, she said, how much you got? She moved me along. So I felt that, that old tradition of the ones that have come before making a way for you. She made that process simple for me. And even when she was in the studio, she was very keen on what do you need?
Right.
And also still in inviting herself. So I was really blessed to have someone with that kind of spirit. And it was all over. She looked into the camera and said, good luck. So I felt like
Now I have to jump in and let people know, and this is actually charged this one to my head because I was so excited about talking to Lakecia. This album is produced by Terry Lynn Carrington. So when we say Terry, it's drummer, educator, one of the most badass women on this planet, Terry Lynn Carrington. So talk to me about you two even and that relationship, because when I think of someone like Terry Lynn Carrington, I think of you two, just women that are inspiring other people, not just a particular gender, but Terry Lynn has a way of embracing the women of this music like no one else really does.
yeah, my first interaction with Terry actually came because I was a special guest on Charnay Wade's Gil Scott project. I think she had heard my feature on Essex, and she reached out to someone and said, "Oh, she liked it," and gave her email. So I, contact her, and then after that, slowly but surely, she just took a chance to call me for a gig. So we started working time and time with her project. But for this particular CD, as I was thinking throughout 2021, I was feeling that I wanted to do something different, feeling that I guess I have gone as far as I can go on my own, and I needed someone that was going to force me to get out of my box and get out of the normal things I'm thinking and push me to a place that's better than. So I reached out to Terry. I said, "Hey, I've got this project. This is the things I'm looking to highlight and feature. Are you interested?" She liked what I was talking about but wanted to hear the music. I sent her an email with the music. She wrote me back a long email saying, "That sounds great. Let me know when you have it together." So I took that as a sign this is not together because I sent all the music. So I went back to the drawing board and I said, maybe I'm not pulling enough. So even through the process of recording, through the process of like really editing and figuring everything out and placing things, because there's a lot of very produced things, I really feel like she forced me to be my best self. If I play a solo, she's like, "You're going to do another take." That's not what we're looking for. So I really feel like just the pedigree of like when you're dealing with like a prodigy, they have seen it before. Her father was a sax player. She really forced me to move to a higher level. So I don't think I could do this whole project without her.
Wow. But there seemed to have been a level of trust that you already had with Terry Lynn to even have her guide you in that way. Because certain musicians would say, I know what I'm doing, but you seem to have put all your trust in her hands in a sense.
Well, I think that's what a producer is. But I also think it takes a lot of humility to realize when someone is better than you, when someone has seen more than you, when someone has accomplished more than you. And Terry is someone like me that strives to be genreless. So I knew that whatever she was telling me was from a place of understanding and having been there. So I feel like if you've gone so far and you've done everything your way, you've gotten all you can get. So what is the harm in trying someone else's way?
Right. Yeah, that humility will go far, won't it? It'll take you a long, long way.
Yeah.
Now back into the music, and I want you to explain to me, and really to some of our listeners that might not understand, because you've got the amazing Sonia Sanchez.
Oh yeah, totally.
Haiku poetry. What is that?
I guess what is it to her or what is it to me?
How about both? Because there is a reason why it is on your album. So
yeah, I picked that particular poem that she'd already done, or haiku that she'd already done, because I really felt it spoke to just. It's a shame that it was written so long time ago, but it spoke to some of the problems and injustices that we have going on now. But I also felt somehow on the album, saxophone can be open for interpretation. If I play a song like Rebirth, it can be happy, it can be sad, it can be friendly, it can be a dance song. Something about speaking your truth. It gives you, and there's no question of what we're talking about. There's no question of where we're coming from. So even throughout the whole album, I wanted to keep reminding people in word what direction we're going to. I was almost trying to, with the sound effects, everything, to paint a picture of the mindset I was in and take you through almost like an audiobook of this is what's going on, this was happening. I wrote each song 1 month of the year. So it took me a year to get through it. So I wanted to just show the listener this is what was happening for me each month during this pandemic, each month of my rehab, each month of the recovery. So just so they could see from women and people that have experienced life in an extraordinary way. There's no one that's experienced poetry or just how hard life can get, like a Sonia Sanchez. Right. All of these women, Patrice Rushing, Diane Reeves, they all have their own story of what it took to just get even the mainstream media to listen to what they're doing. Right. How long did it take Terry Lynn to have a place? Right. So I wanted to show that journey of what it means for someone like Terry to have never given up and be where she is now versus when she started, when people were looking, but they were looking kind of through their peripheral. Mm-hmm. So
now I'm glad you mentioned this name, because let me get it together. Patrice Rushing, who I feel like over the past few years on social media, I've been seeing her name more, which I love. I think there's even a TikTok about forget-me-nots. So Patrice, but you where did you get Jubilation from? I feel like not many people are aware of that album, her second, and where Jubilation comes from. So that just brought such a smile to my face because so many people they think of course, Forget Me Nots and the R&B songs that we all jammed to back in the day.
Totally.
But honey, Patrice Rushen is a musician's musician. So I'm
Yeah.
so glad that you grabbed her, and so we can give her more love and flowers. But talk to me about how did you call her too? I got to get you to call some people for me because you seem like you'll call anybody.
I will. I did call her. I mentioned that I was interested in working with her. I mean, everyone that's a guest I had in mind from the beginning. They were the first people I wanted. So that was my first tier. I'm starting out with this. And I feel, like I said, want someone that's genreless, someone that's done a lot, and only part of her career I feel like is highlighted. Yes. Of course, I'm not even a generation. I spent years at Forget Me Nots at the party. I found love. I've been right there jamming on the late night. So I'm a big fan. But, some of the first things I've heard of her is when Joe Henderson was on that record. I was a big Joe Henderson fan. So I was researching albums that Joe Henderson was playing the lead or on. And I found this. And I said, how in the world is there a woman that's coming out? I mean, in Jubilation on that album, it's at the speed of light.
Oh, yeah. Yes, if you're not familiar with it, I invite you to go look it up right now. Patrice is not playing.
Yeah, I think what's it called? Preclusion, that record?
Or is it Before the Dawn?
Yeah, it is Before the Dawn. Before the Dawn. That's a track on there. Yeah, so I guess I wasn't intentionally trying to highlight other things she did. But I think just because I am an instrumentalist, that's the side of her that speaks the most to me. Like when my first time seeing her live was her killing a guitar solo running around the stage. Ooh. So I think I picked the songs based on what I had in mind for the guest. Yeah. So of course I could just have her sing something and we try to come up with some catchy pop thing. And I wasn't looking with this album to try to draw eyes in order to, I guess, raise my Spotify hits or to potentially get nominated for this or that. I was looking to bring awareness to all of the things that these women have given and to the things that we are overlooking. Right. So I feel like in this song, this woman has a song like this that you could even sample this joint. Oh, yeah. This is a remix, and I just felt like, how does nobody know about this song? And it's my favorite song of hers, so that's how I reached out to her. I said, I have this is what I'm trying to do. This is the record I'm trying to make. I want people to see you more. Even though you're already biggest day, I feel like you should be bigger than that. So if I can do anything to help, that's what I want to do. I feel it's my generation's responsibility to even do that. So that's how it started. And she was really open to it. She was super sweet about it. Maybe it's the Libra Nation. I don't know.
Yeah. It's interesting. We women support each other. Those are for you guys that think we're always kind of fighting and backbiting. There is such a level of support between women that I love. Even women you don't know, you'll walk by and you'll be like, go ahead with your yellow shoes on. Like we really have a love for one another. And I'm glad we can really love up on Patrice Rushen and Diane Reeves and even Angela Davis. Georgia Ann Muldrow. Let's chat about her real quick because that's another name I think more people should have on their tongues because
Amen.
She is otherworldly. So how did that come about? I feel like, did you guys know each other beforehand? I can see you two being like cousins.
Well, I guess the jig is up. She's not my cousin, but she is my best friend. Oh. So I know about Georgia before there was a Georgia. So yeah, I guess that's why I'm constantly highlighting her. But I feel like in terms of even someone that's taught me how to produce, how to deal with when I started, wanting to get out the jazz world and produce more hip hop tracks or just how to function that way. That was where I got all that stuff from. The reason I can play all of my instruments sonically is because of Georgia. Her family, going to their church all the time, helping her mom singing with me. Things like that. I mean, I feel like she's someone that is extremely underrated. Even in the hip hop world, when she was in Stone's Throw, that's already an underrated underground thing. So I feel that, I wanted to highlight her because she doesn't get highlighted enough. Mm-hmm. But I also thought on the title track, she knew personally what I had been through. Mm-hmm. She knew personally what the year has been like to me. And I was like, who could give me this type of vibe? Mm-hmm. There's not many singers that come from that super spiritual direction that they're always praising God. Right. So sometimes even when I'm looking for a vocalist, there is no other person that I can think of but her. So that was my main reason for her. But yeah, we do have a super personal connection.
Yeah, well, see, where I'm from, that's your cousin. After a while, you don't say best friend. That's my cousin.
No, totally. We're totally connect. We talk every day. We're totally
Well,
connected.
tell her she's got a lot of love out here. I just absolutely love her. Now
I
we're
will
gonna
tell
switch
her.
things up real quick, and we're gonna give some props to some of the men on this recording because you got one of the best. I mean, to think that we still have a Wayne Shorter on this earth with us, and you got him on the album. You called Wayne too, Lakecia? I gotta know.
Yeah.
Give me your phone. Send me every contact you got.
No, I mean sometimes I don't have the contact. I spend a lot of time like pursuance with those like with 45 guests. I just hunt people down until I get a no, and then keep so no. So I had a couple of people in mind. Like I actually called Sonny Rollins as well to see. I was looking for someone not just an elder statesman, but someone that really I felt through their work they didn't. We were talking about genderless. I was looking for genderless people that they work with any gender, any time, any art form, and they're beyond space and time. And someone that could leave a message, almost like if the younger generation was listening, this is what you need to be doing. What could they say? And who has that clout and that respectability that their word is bond? So that's what I was looking for. So I mean, that's the reason it came up. And also I felt that I'm glad that he's in good health right now. Yeah. But I feel that we need to highlight more people while they're here before something happens. And I feel that he's moving to the later years of his life. Right. And I wanted to do something with him while it could be remembered.
And what I love about that is that you have his words, right? Because as musicians, we always want to hear the notes. But how important is it to hear the words from their mouths in their 80s and 90s and the wisdom? That's priceless, Lakecia. So
it totally is. I remember when the pandemic started. I mean, I was still on Pursuance, and Reggie Workman had arranged a chat, like a Zoom. So it's like 100, 500 people of us on this Zoom with Sonny Rollins just talking to us. And if you asked a question and you got it through, he would just answer that. And that conversation went on for 2.5 hours. So it made me think, like, we're not just, these people have libraries long enough. We don't need to hear another note.
Ooh.
You know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's right. That's what it's all about. Lakecia Benjamin, Phoenix, January 27th. She's got new music, her originals. She's representing women. She's representing the elders, the people that deserve their flowers today, right now. She's giving it to them. I'm so excited. Look, I've got the album. You guys can't really hear it, though, until January 27th. I'm sorry, but when you can, it's one that, and I'm not just saying this, Lakecia, I'm pretty picky about music. I tweeted something the other day that, music is just not the same, right? People put out a little bit of fluff and it goes a long way. But this album is one that you will find something to take with you. And it's funny that you said you wrote a song every month because these songs are going to stay with you. You're going to need 30 days to dissect and let it feel you and you feel it. And it's an album that's going to be with you for years and years to come. And I know why, Lakecia, because your thought process and your life is involved so heavily in Phoenix. And that's something you can't fake, y'all. Mm-hmm. That's something that you just can't, you know what I mean? That you can't really get around that. People feel that authenticity that you bring. So I am so excited. Before I let you go, I got one question for you. It has nothing to do with music. Where you get all your fly outfits from, Lakecia? I got, even on the Retox album, you always, it's hard to keep your eyes off of Lakecia when she's playing, even when she's not. The shoe game is all that. Is that something from Washington Heights?
No, that's not really a Dominican thing. I just think, Clark told me best. They see you before they hear you. Ooh. So I always feel like if you're trying to get your message across, you should get it across every way possible. So if you walk in how you want to be perceived, that automatically gets people to see something and hear something one way. Then when you're playing, they piece the puzzle together better if you give them all the art forms, versus then you just say, oh yeah, I hope you understand this really deep music on this stage. So I think it's better to just, let your personality shine.
Oh, yeah. Well, it does. It does that and so much more. I'm so glad that you did not let Retox be the first and only album.
Thank you so much.
So January 27th, Phoenix. What can people, or where can they find you, and where will you be performing in like the next month or so? Where can they find out that information?
Oh, we're kind of off for the rest of the year. We've been on tour for like I think 270 days this year.
Wow.
So we don't start it back up until Winter Jazz Fest, January 13th, and that's the first highlight of Phoenix. We'll start there, and we'll start the whole tour from there. So they can find me. All of my social medias are Lakecia B, so LAKECIAB, and it's universally across all the platforms.
All right. Well, to my healer and lover of music, and one of my just someone who I've been admiring for so long, because not only is she unapologetically herself, but she's also humble, which you don't get to find often enough. So thank you, Lakecia. I'm so glad you're here. And the creator knew that we needed you around, and I'm glad that he spared you to talk with us today. I
Oh,
love
thanks
you,
so
girl.
much. Love you too, girl.